Levant, some other things, al-Sham. The stuff that they're killing and murdering people in Iraq is the same theology, philosophy, as the stuff that's being taught in our American, our Canadian, our European mosques, the mosques in Japan, the mosques in Philippines. Okay, here we go. Sexual intercourse is a breaking of the fast, even if the penis enters the vagina only as far as the circumcision ring and even if no ejaculation results. This is Sharia law. This is how they adjudicate legal cases and get through the day and make decisions like murdering people in Iraq right now. If the penis enters less deeply into the vagina and there is no ejaculation, the fast has not been broken. If the man cannot determine with certainty what length of his penis entered into the vagina, and if he has gone in beyond the circumcision ring, his fast has not been broken. If a man has intercourse because he has forgotten that he is in a fasting period, or if someone forces him to have intercourse, his fast has not been broken. But if he remembers the fast while the sex act is taking place, or if he is no longer forcibly constrained to complete the coitus, a woman lets him go, he must interrupt it immediately. Okay? If a man during a fasting period masturbates and brings himself to ejaculation, his fast has been broken. If a man ejaculates involuntarily, his fast remains valid. But if he himself does anything whatsoever to help along his involuntary ejaculation, the fast is considered to be null and void. Taking an enema, even for medically therapeutic reasons, breaks the fast, but the use of suppositories is not forbidden. However, it is preferable to abstain from using opium suppositories. Let's go and watch ISIS some more. Clip number 8.
هربوا بعد ما كانوا يهددون الكرد ويتعنترون عليهم، هربوا إلى الكرد، هربوا إلى الشمال، اندفع الأبطال باتجاه كركوك فحرروا المناطق العربية. ومن الأشياء الجميلة والتي تبشر بخير أن المقاتلين لم يطغوا ولم تخدعهم القوة، فكان تعاملهم مع البيشمركة الكرد تعاملا طيبا، لم يحصل احتكاك ولم يحصل قتال، ونحن نقول لهم حافظوا على هذه العلاقة وهذا السلم. عدونا هم الشيعة ومن كان معهم. إن البديل هو الظلم والسحق والإذلال الشيعي. مهما قلت عن القوة المحررة، وبالمناسبة القوة اللي حررت الموصل والآن تستمر، الغالبية هم جماعة الدولة الإسلامية في العراق والشام. الثقل الأكبر لهم، هذا واقع. أختلف معهم، أتفق معهم، هذا الكلام يزعجك، يزعجني، يريحني، يريحك، هاي قضايا، هذه ما ينتج عن الحدث. أنا أقرأ الواقع. كل الذي تسمعونه يقولون العشائر، يقولون كذا. نعم.
Okay, so we're still, now the reason I'm showing this is because this is what they teach in the mosques, the major mosques in the United States, Canada, UK, France, Wales, Ireland, Scotland, Australia, New Zealand, Philippines, China, the Uyghurs are over there killing a lot of people. All right, so again, this is what murdering and killing all the people in Iraq, that's how Islam has settled all of its disputes for 1,400 years, and all we're seeing right there is the behavior of what did Muhammad do. Okay, back to Sharia law, which ISIS, Sunnis, and Shiites both adhere to in the tradition. Sperm is always impure whether it results from actual coitus or from an emission, while one is either conscious or asleep, whether it is abundant or not, whether it results from sexual pleasure with whether emission is intentional or not. It is recommended that one urinate after ejaculation. If one does not, the discharge that might follow one's ablution would have to be considered to be sperm, even though it seems doubtful. During sexual intercourse, if the penis enters a woman's vagina or a man's anus fully or only as far as the circumcision ring, both partners become impure even if they have not reached puberty. They must consequently perform their ablutions. If the man thinks that he has not entered the woman's vagina beyond the circumcision ring, ablution is not required. If a man, Allah protect him from it, fornicates with an animal and ejaculates, ablution is necessary. If a man has sexual intercourse with his wife during the periods of prescribed abstinence, such as the month's fast of Ramadan, his sweat is impure, and he may not say his daily prayers while in such a state. So now sweat after coitus seems to prohibit a man from praying unless he washes himself. Okay. If a man becomes aroused by a woman other than his wife, but then has intercourse with his own wife, it is preferable for him not to pray. Allah Akbar. If he has sweated, but if he first has intercourse with his spouse and then with another woman, Allah Akbar, he may say his prayers even though he be in a sweat. So if he has sex with his wife and he sweats, he has to wash up. If he has sex with his wife and then another woman, one after the other, then even though he's sweating, he doesn't have to wash himself. Cool. Sharia law. A man who has ejaculated as a result of intercourse with a woman other than his wife, Allah Akbar, and who then ejaculates again while having coitus with his legal wife. First wife's illegal, second wife's legal. Now actually, the first wife I'm sure is a temporary wife, and we've read from Sharia law also that grammar school students, kids, boys and girls, can have a temporary marriage without the consent of their parents, and they can screw each other's brains out, and it's okay. It's part of Sharia. I've got it in there. This is their law. Okay, let me start this over again because this is what they teach in the mosque. The Muslim Brotherhood believes this. The Shiites believe this. ISIS, over there murdering and beheading and chopping up people in Iraq, believes this. And this in all the mosques. Okay, a man who has ejaculated as a result of intercourse with a woman other than his wife and who then ejaculates again while having coitus with his legal wife does not have the right to say his prayers while he is sweating. But if he had intercourse with his wife first and then with a woman not his wife, he may say his prayers even though he is still sweating. Clip number 9. This is crazy. Clip number 9. Woo!
هذا الزي العسكري وهذه البندقية التي تجدونها بيدي على كبر السن وأزمة القلبية اللي عندي ومرضي وضعفي، كل ذلك استجابة للنداء الذي وجهه المرجع الأعلى السيد العظيم آية الله العظمى السيد علي السيستاني الوكيل النائب عن مولانا صاحب العصر والزمان. أطال الله عمره وأدام الله ظله استجابة لطلبه، وناشد العراقيين جميعا من كل من يقدر على حمل السلاح من الشباب وحتى غير الشباب، كل من يقدر أن يحمل السلاح ويستعمل السلاح.
Okay, so I went online and I looked up these guys that believe this stuff and they want to kill everybody, and if you have sex and you get sweaty, you gotta wash yourself if it's your wife, but if you do it with your wife and then you do it with another woman, not your wife, and you get sweaty, you don't have to wash yourself. Well, that's Sharia law. What did Muhammad do? What would Muhammad do? 22 verses in the Quran. Yes. I have read the Quran. I have my own personal copy of the Quran, of course. And of course, I'm a kafir. I'm an infidel. So it also says in Sharia law, you're not even supposed to give me a Quran. I'm not supposed to touch a Quran. And the Muslim can forcibly take the Quran away from me. Allah Akbar. All right, so here's some background on these dudes. The Islamic State in Iraq and the Levant, alternately translated as Islamic State in Iraq and Al-Sham, and Islamic State in Iraq and Syria. It's abbreviated ISIL or ISIS, or from its Arabic acronym as Daesh. Is that right? Daesh? All right, the Muslims or the Arab-speaking people don't want to talk to me. Mina, is it Daesh? Daesh. Daesh. Okay. Daesh. Just a dash of garlic and it'll make it really good. Okay, so Daesh is ISIL or ISIS, the guys that are murdering everybody over in Iraq. And they're the guys that are the Muslim Brotherhood. They're funded by the Saudis, the Kuwaitis, and Dubai and those other dudes over there that are doing all this because they want to turn us into slaves. And we have all the documentation, proof, evidence, and facts on that. Okay, Daesh is an unrecognized state, an active jihadist militant group in Iraq and Syria, but it's global. Look, you can call them Taliban, you can call them Al-Qaeda, you can call them Muslim Brotherhood, Ikhwan Muslimin, you can call them Abu Sayyaf, you can call them Boko Haram, you could call them Mujahideen. They're all working from the same stuff. That's why I'm reading this crazy stuff, so you can see this is what they want in America and Canada and UK, in Wales, in London, in Paris, in Germany, everywhere. And the Saudi Arabians are behind this. We have all the proof, evidence, and facts on that. We will show that. We already showed that. Okay, Daesh is an unrecognized state and an active jihadist militant group. Don't fall for the baloney that jihad is an internal struggle. That's baloney. That's taqiyya. That's a lie. Jihad means kill people, period. It's that difficult. What did Muhammad do? He didn't have an inner struggle. He went out to struggle to kill people. That is jihad. In his self-proclaimed status as a sovereign state, it claims the territory of Iraq and Syria. It claims the whole world, with implied future claims over more of the Levant, that would be the Eastern Mediterranean region, including Jordan, Israel, Palestinian territories, Lebanon, and a part of southern Turkey, including some other place, Aleppo, and the Ottoman Syria. Look, it means, for these guys, it means the whole world. This is the third great jihad. The first great jihad ended in 732 A.D., the Battle of Tours. Charles Martel defeated the Muslim army, drove them out of France, back into Spain. The second great jihad ended about 1683 in the siege of Vienna under John Sobieski III, the Polish king, who drove the Ottoman Empire back out, away south of Vienna, but they remained and are still in the old Yugoslavia, which is Kosovo, Albania, and Bosnia, and all those places around. We are now in the middle of the beginning, if that's proper, of the third great jihad. I believe it began with the oil embargo in the Yom Kippur War, 1973, where the first time in the history of Saudi Arabia they had surplus capital, and immediately they began funding all ISIS, all of the Wahhabis, the Abu Sayyaf, all these other groups globally. You could track back to 1973. Now I've talked to other scholars, and they believe that the third great jihad began with the formation in 1928, Hassan Banna of the Muslim Brotherhood. It's okay. It manifested, the theology and the philosophy began under Hassan Banna, and actually Wahhab a couple hundred years before that, but then it really manifested itself. As soon as the Saudi Arabians had surplus capital, they didn't go out and help widows and orphans. No. They went out and started buying munitions and toys of death throughout the world for the third great jihad. And that's why I seriously, sardonically, bitterly, my laughter at Dick Cheney and his daughter, Liz Cheney, talking about, oh, woe is me, we should have left more troops in it. No, we should have whacked them really hard for the 16 days when we went in. After those 16 days, we showed ISIS, Mujahideen, Boko Haram, everybody in the world, we showed them we mean business, and they wouldn't have attacked us anymore. Us. However, as I listened to Dick Cheney and his daughter, Dick and Liz Cheney, they never mention Islam. They never mention what did Muhammad do. They never mention that Saudi Arabia and their empire is to spread dawah, the Islam all over the world, this crazy sexual Sharia where women are treated like dogs and goats and pigs. A woman's testimony is only half that of a man's. It takes 4 men to establish a rape. What if it's 4 women watching the rape? Oh, that doesn't count. Okay, so back to ISIS. And as I predicted years and years ago, that everything that's happening in Iraq and Syria would happen because this is what Muhammad did. What Muhammad did. This is what they teach in every major mosque. That's why I keep hammering on this, because we cannot stop it. It's a copulating army called Islam. Male plus female copulating has kids. When they have kids, it becomes an army, boys and girls. When they reach 10% of the host country, then 100% of the Muslims join together to attack, just as ISIS is doing in Iraq right now. Just as this will happen in Afghanistan. It will repeat itself there. So when they hit 10% of the United States, that's 33 million people in this army. How will they behave? What did Muhammad do? How will be their sexual mores? That's why I'm reading this Sharia law, so that you can see it. You should be scared. You should be upset. Absolutely. Because this army cannot be stopped. I can't, and you can't. The United States Army and Navy cannot go in and stop these people who believe in ISIS from copulating in their bed and having children. Am I graphic? Am I brutal? Really? Having seen children and women shot to death, blown up to death, and burned to death in firefights in Vietnam, and listening to their wails of widows and sobs of orphans since I was 18 years old, it's in my head all the time. Yes, I am dramatic. Yes, I am brutal. Yes, I am graphic. Why not? Do you think when they dragged in the Trojan horse inside the walls of Troy, Cassandra, who had warned them, said, "Oh, woe is me. Romeo, Romeo, wherefore art thou?" No. She was going crazy, yelling and screaming. I can imagine Cassandra throwing herself on the Trojan horse, yelling and screaming at her family and friends and relatives. Don't bring the Trojan horse in here. I can imagine she hurt herself and was covered with her own blood, trying to get the attention of the Greeks. That night, on the other hand, she had the privilege, sardonically, to watch the very same people she begged and pleaded with, don't let the Trojan horse in there. She watched them slaughtered, raped, mutilated, burned. Am I too graphic? No, not at all. In 50 years from now, people will look back in the United States who love liberty, and Canada, and UK, and Europe, and they will laugh and scoff at people who bought the lie. There's a moderate Muslim and an extremist Muslim. No, there's one Muslim. Muslim does, what did Muhammad do? 22 verses in the Quran. 22 verses in the Quran. Very easy to look them up. What did Muhammad do? That is the basis of axiology, the science of ethics for the Muslims. You're watching it in Iraq right now. They're bragging about it and showing it. ISIS, the group in its original form, was composed of and supported by a variety of insurgent groups. They're all anti-Christian, anti-Buddhist, anti-Confucius, anti-Jew. They're only for one thing. What did Muhammad do? And then when you look between them, they have these giant battles. That's the Sunnis and the Shiites. That's sectarian, which is religious. All of the different groups, they all get their marching orders from the Quran, the same Quran that's being taught in all of our mosques. A variety of insurgent groups, including its predecessor organizations, the Mujahideen Shura Council, the Islamic State of Iraq, and Al-Qaeda in Iraq, the insurgent groups Jais al-Fatahin, Jund al-Shahaba, and all these other names. They all got the same playbook. It would be like saying, well, you know, in American football, I believe there's 28 different football teams or 28 different groups. Well, that may be, but they all use the same rule book. Or the baseball teams. Or the soccer, FIFA. Or basketball. They all use the same rule book. Or like saying that the Navy is different from the Army, is different from the Air Force, is different from the Marines, is different from the Coast Guard. But we all operate under the same uniform code of military justice in accordance with the Constitution of the United States. Yeah, we might be different, but we all got the same objective, to support and defend the Constitution of the United States. And with Islam, it's to support and defend the Quran, which is their constitution. You can look up the Muslim Brotherhood. ISIS is known for its harsh interpretation of Islam. No, ISIS is known for its correct, true interpretation of Islam. What did Muhammad do? And brutal violence. What did Muhammad do? He beat the hell out of women. He tied their arms and legs to two camels and drove them in opposite directions to draw and quarter the woman. He raped. He copulated with a widow who had just seen her husband's head cut off. He was nice enough, and he did say that, well, I'd marry you, took her into a tent about 5 feet away and copulated with her. Wow, what a diplomat. ISIS is known for its harsh interpretation of Islam and brutal violence, which is directed particularly against Shia Muslims. It has at least 4,000 fighters in its ranks. No. What you're seeing right now may have 4,000 or 8,000 or 16,000 or 20,000, but from the 1.4 billion Muslims making up the Ummah, at least 10%, 140 million of these guys are just frothing at the mouth to go grab your girls, your wife, your women, and to rape them and to kill you, me, as we try to stop it. That's what Muhammad did. ISIS is known for its harsh interpretation of Islam and brutal violence, which is directed particularly against Shia Muslims. It has at least 4,000 fighters in its ranks who, in addition to attacks on government and military targets, have claimed responsibility for attacks that have killed thousands of civilians. What would Muhammad do? Boko Haram stealing all the little girls. And by the way, why are they stealing those little girls? They're sex slaves for Boko Haram. It's not hard. Unless you're Nancy Pelosi. Have claimed responsibility for attacks that have killed thousands of civilians. ISIS had close links with Al-Qaeda until 2014, but in February of that year, Al-Qaeda cut all ties with the group. Well, it's decentralized globally, having been a battle planner for the United States Marine Corps, my specialty being in cell warfare, guerrilla warfare, which I did in Vietnam. I understand this stuff. It's like trying to squash a tomato. And when you jump on the tomato, when you squish it, you send it all over the place. And that's how cell warfare works. It's the same thing that Mao Zedong did, Ho Chi Minh, Swamp Fox in the Revolutionary War. ISIS original aim was to establish a caliphate in the Sunni majority regions of Iraq. Well, as soon as you say caliphate, they mean the globe. What they mean is like when the Marines landed on Tarawa or the Army landed in Normandy, you got a beachhead. But they didn't mean just to stay on that beachhead. No, they were going to take over and destroy Japan, or they're going to take over and destroy the Germans in Europe. When they say caliphate, it doesn't mean local. It means like McDonald's selling hamburgers globally. This later expanded to include controlling Sunni majority areas of Syria as a result of ISIS participation in the Syrian civil war and the spillover from the Syrian civil war. ISIS is involved in the Benghazi murder of the ambassador in Syria. ISIS, Muslim Brotherhood. If you can't understand that, you will soon. You will soon, because Islam is now on the roll. They have been for years and years and years. This is like starting a business. Speaking of McDonald's, when Ray Kroc bought McDonald's, he started with one little shop, and now it's global. He started small and went global. The same thing is going to happen as ISIS is not just in Syria and Iraq. The whole emphasis of Islam is dawah. What we say to evangelize done peacefully and come let us reason, ISIS, on the other hand, they used violence, which is what did Muhammad do? The later expanded to include controlling Sunni majority areas of Syria as a result of ISIS participation in the Syrian civil war and a spillover from the Syrian civil war. And now we have pictures, I've seen them before, but they came out showing John McCain with pictures of ISIS several months ago, and John McCain also said the guys who murdered Gaddafi and ended up murdering our ambassador were freedom fighters and his heroes. I've showed those clips on this show before. At the height of the Iraq War, its forerunners enjoyed a significant presence in the Iraqi governance of Al-Anbar, Ninawa, Kirkuk, Mosul, Salah, and Din, parts of Babil, Diyala. Diyala is where my son was suicide bombed and shot up, and Baghdad, and claimed Bakuba as a capital city. In the ongoing Syrian civil war, ISIS has a large presence in the Syrian governance of Raqqa, Idlib, and Aleppo. Okay, so now every mosque in the United States, Canada, Western Europe, they teach what ISIS, there's no difference. They use the Quran, they got the same playbook, and they all do the same thing. What did Muhammad do? Okay. Is there anybody in there to do a clip? Is there anybody in there? Okay. My man got kidnapped by ISIS, so I got to wait for him to get, we're going to pay retribution and get him out of the clutches of them. Okay. Okay, clip number 15.
To many Westerners, this radical Islamist group, known for butchering its way through Iraq, came out of nowhere. But the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, ISIS, runs like a corporation, even issuing spreadsheets to tally its bombings, assassinations, cities it's taken over. One bank robbery alone has reportedly given them operating cash of $430 million. ISIS has been building momentum for years. The group's inspiration for indiscriminate killing comes from the man who formed al-Qaeda in Iraq in 2004, Abu Musab al-Zarqawi.
He was a criminal, he was a thug, he was been in jail for prison for all kinds of crimes. Then he gets out, gets religion, and creates this organization that al-Qaeda ends up being afraid of.
Zarqawi's death in 2006 left them down and nearly out, but the U.S. withdrawal from Iraq in 2011, coupled with the war in Syria starting that same year, gave ISIS its new name and new life.
The pressure is off. Suddenly you see them starting to carry out attacks inside Iraq. Suddenly you see them with ambitions throughout the region, going into Syria and other places where they can train, where they can recruit without any interference from any Western powers or anyone able to stop them.
They gathered volunteers and weapons, spent 2 years breaking their senior leaders out of prison. But with only a few thousand fighters in Iraq, how were they able to take Mosul, a city of almost 2 million?
Intimidating the local security forces through bombs in their homes, by targeting key leaders for assassination, making them a much softer target for the assault that would someday come, which at this point I think we can confirm was a very easy assault.
Then, to hold Mosul and other cities they've captured, pure mafia tactics.
Extorting money, but also in terms of, there was a recent bank robbery where they garnered a lot of money. They've been taxing civilians and brutal tactics to sort of get money from civilians.
A U.S. counterterrorism official tells us successful business owners are shaken down, threatened with death if they don't pay extortion fees. Kidnappings and smuggling are big moneymakers for them. Even before they captured the entire city of Mosul, this official says ISIS made several $1 million a month there by using those tactics.
Now, once it captures a city, analysts say...
Just had a great question from my gigantic audience here. They're all doing the wave. Hey. About 1990 or so, the ambassador to the UN from Israel, Dory Gold, wrote a book, Kingdom of Hatred. And in there, at the very beginning, it was very seminal, especially myself having been a former intelligence operative for the Marine Corps in Vietnam. And it said in about 1990, there's 16 intelligence agencies, including NASA. NASA has its own intelligence agency. There's 16 intelligence agencies in the United States, including the CIA and the FBI that are, NASA, that we're, NSA, we all know. But they decided in 1990 that religion was off the table. They absolutely did not want to consider any options that had to do with religion. And so when I was hired at $500 an hour by the Marine Corps for the Battle of Fallujah II, they wanted to use our tactics of gathering human intelligence in Vietnam, in Iraq, Fallujah too. And when I got done delivering my lecture, how we operated in Vietnam, they were so impressed that they hired me on the spot at $500 an hour. And I told them up front, I said, it won't work in Iraq. And they looked at me, they were a little bit frustrated, and they said, why won't it work in Iraq? And I said, because they're Muslims. And they said, what's religion got to do with it? I said, well, I'm telling you right now, you're going to win the battle in Fallujah. You will defeat them. You have everything that you need. You guys will win the war in Fallujah, and it probably won't take you long at all, which is true. And I said, however, you're going to lose the war because you don't understand that religion, you refuse to understand that religion is the basis of ISIS and Mujahideen. Every major mosque in the United States, in Canada, in France, in the UK, if you don't understand the Sharia law that I've been reading, which is used by both the Shiites and the Sunnis, then you're not going to understand how they operate and how they use the mosque as the focus point for battle planning and getting their operations orders out and things of that nature, to which they laughed at me. So that's fine. I wish I could sit here and say I was wrong. I don't want to say anything else. Back to Sharia law that Khomeini was teaching, which is, while he's a Shiite, he still teaches the tradition, which is Sunnah, and this is both groups, Shiites and Sunnis, use the same Sharia law, which is taught in all the major mosques. So Ayatollah Khomeini wrote on the last page of his little green book about interpreting Sharia law, girls and boys who attend coeducational classes in grammar school, first grade through sixth grade, high schools, universities, or other teaching establishments, and who, in order to legalize such a situation, wish to contract a temporary marriage, fornicate, may do so without the permission of their fathers. The same applies to the boy and the girl are in love but hesitate to ask for permission. And I've read these other crazy things that I don't want to go back again over because they're so disgusting. Clip number 16.
According to the intelligence we have, just Britain alone have about 400 to 450 known people fighting amongst the ranks of ISIS. If even 10% of these people survive, if I know Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, he will use these people to attack United Kingdom. The intervention of European or the Western allies, I don't see it happening, but at least they could do is to supply some of the regional forces that are fighting ISIS now with ammunition, with better weapons. This is the least they can do, because if the situation gets worse for us, believe me, it's going to get worse for the Europeans as well. ISIS, the type of weapons they have now, they have Humvees, armored Humvees, they have APCs, they have tanks. In Mosul, they even have helicopters that they put their hands on from the Iraqi army. These are all US weapons. They have much better weapons than we have. We are fighting with old Russian weapons against these guys.
What's your message then to the international community, to the Americans, to the British right now?
They shouldn't just let this go away so easily, because like I said, this is not only a war against the Iraqi government and the Kurdish people here. This war will come back and bite them in the ass back in Europe and in the States. So they should really somehow get involved. I'm not saying put your military forces on the ground, but at least you could do is have some sort of airstrikes to support our forces and to help us with some ammunition and weaponry.
Okay, so we're going over some other things in here about Sharia law. Okay. Under Sharia law, which is taught by ISIS in all of our mosques here, it says, our scholars have said, Allah the Most Exalted, He made the dowry to be a substitute. He treated it like other things that require a substitute, going on and on and on. It says, the relationship, but the husband is obliged to pay the dowry so that he may have the right to rulership over the woman and stand as the master to his slave in the relationship because of what he gave as a substitute. Ibn al-Arabi saw that the man's sexual rights by virtue of paying the dowry is grounded in the Quran, which is what ISIS and Muslim Brotherhood, the mosque in Corona, in Los Angeles, in New York, at Ground Zero, all of them agreed. They all use the same rule book for sex and for warfare, killing. It says that the husband has a right to prevent his wife from looking. Okay. It goes on. I was trying to pick some stuff out of the air. I have all of it here, so I certify what I'm saying is correct, that in the dowry, the man, the Muslim man, whether he's Sunni or Shiite, he purchases the legal right to the sexual genitals of the woman and to enslave her in a house. That's in this right here. The place of women in pure Islam. You can go online and get it. And also, there's some crazy parts in there where if a man mistakenly has sex with a woman not his wife, he just has to do some silly things like saying Allah Akbar 5 times or so, and he's forgiven. It also states in there that if the man is caught by his wife having sex with a woman she doesn't know, she can't kill him because it could be one of the other 3 wives, which probably she doesn't know. But if he walks in and she's having sex with another man, yes, he must kill her at that point in time. That he must do that. Okay, so we go to clip number 17.
From masked jihadi fighter to traffic policeman on the streets of Mosul, these are the first independently filmed pictures inside Iraq's second biggest city. They show ISIS fighters alongside state employees trying to keep the city's electricity on. Close by, an artillery gun they've looted from government bases. ISIS militants are rebranding themselves, trying to win the trust of Sunni Iraqis in an attempt to show an Islamic mini-state in the making. In front of Mosul's landmark hotel built by Saddam Hussein, children play on the burnt-out hulks of Iraqi police vehicles. ISIS may be trying to present a different image, saying it has growing support among Sunnis, but the UN also accuses them of carrying out summary executions and rapes. I drove to the Iraqi city of Kirkuk, just 2 hours east of Mosul, where ISIS has been launching attacks against Kurdish forces who have taken it over. People were afraid at the start of the fighting, this man told me, but are happy now the Kurdish forces are here. But we were prepared to defend ourselves against ISIS. Inside the...
Okay, now the LA Sheriff Baca, who's leaving office under all kinds of investigations and whatnot, but he's been actively working with the Muslim Brotherhood, the people who believe in ISIS, for years. And so is Michael Downing, who's the counterterrorism commander for the LAPD. He's the assistant police chief under Charlie Beck. So, and then we have this other guy, Suhail Khan, who is being used by the conservative Republicans, a guy named Grover Norquist, working directly with the Saudi Arabians and funded by the Saudi Arabians. And Grover Norquist gets millions of dollars and he gives them to conservative Republican candidates. And he's grooming a number of Muslim Brotherhood candidates to run for office in the Republican Party. So we'll go through these 3 clips real fast. Clip number 5.
Good evening. Assalamu alaikum. I'm deeply regretful that I cannot be with you this evening. As you listen to my message, I'm either in Qatar, Abu Dhabi, or Egypt, meeting with my Arab law enforcement colleagues. We are working on strategies of cooperation, public safety, and education on a worldwide basis. I want to thank CARE for the friendship that has been extended to me and the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department.
Okay, so Salam Alaikum. He's talking to CARE, Council on American Islamic Relations, which we have all the proof, evidence, and facts, is Muslim Brotherhood, that they operate. Muslim Brotherhood states that the Quran is their constitution, that jihad is their duty, what they do. Okay, so I found that verse here in this book here, The Place of Women in Pure Islam, which they teach at all of the mosques in the United States, Canada, Europe. If a man has sex with a married woman by mistake, thinking her to be his wife, he must give her a dowry equal to the dowry given to a woman of her social worth. This dowry becomes the property of the wife and not her husband. when they establish the value of the dowry, it's the value of cutting off a hand. It's like 12 dinars or something of that nature. It is bizarre. So for Dick Cheney, I was going to say Lon Chaney, for Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney to come out and state that had we stayed in Iraq, we would have stopped this is absolute nonsense. There's 1.4 billion people. Does anybody seriously think that we were going to send the United States military over to Afghanistan and Iraq forever? Just keep killing our kids? And they're not converting over to Christianity. Like Bergdahl, they're converting over to the other stuff. Okay, clip number 4. This is Michael Downing talking about how much he likes the Muslim Brotherhood. Clip number 4.
Yes, thank you all for this wonderful meeting and informational, particularly on the counterterrorism end. My name is Tom Trento, visiting you folks from South Florida. I'm actually in town doing a documentary, doing research on the Muslim Brotherhood's existence and operational activity in Los Angeles County. I'm holding in my hand a book called Sharia, The Threat to America, that was written by 19 national security experts, including many bureau people, agency people, Andy McCarthy, who put the blind sheikh in prison, Jim Woolsey, and myself. I'm one of the authors. My question to the LA Sheriff's Department and to the Bureau, do you believe the Muslim Brotherhood exists in Los Angeles County? And if you do, what are you doing to inform the citizens of the danger of the Muslim Brotherhood?
Thank you. Okay. We actually also have Deputy Chief Michael Downing here with us. He joined us. So, Jeff.
The Muslim Brotherhood, is an organization, a politically active motivation. I'm sure it does exist here in a different form. I think that one of the benefits of what we do in terms of dealing with the motivational aspects of terrorism is to outreach and engage with the community so they don't feel isolated, balkanized, oppressed, and besieged. And our biggest counterterrorism strategy in this community is the partnership that we have with the Muslim communities.
The Brotherhood's very active in this county.
I know the Brotherhood is, but so one of the responsibilities for us to see there's different views about the Brotherhood. Albana, who created it, his idea is different than some of the people that are on the fringe of it here. Just like Republicans and Democrats are more conservative and more liberal, that's what we have here. But the message is not to demonize the Brotherhood here, but to create not to demonize the Brotherhood, but and we don't necessarily engage, with the Brotherhood, but people who we're trying to show that.
It's interesting that he says, don't demonize the Muslim Brotherhood. Look, the Muslim Brotherhood is ISIS. It's real simple. What did Muhammad do? Don't make it harder than it is. The Muslim Brotherhood is on every major college campus in the United States. They're called the Muslim Student Association. They're at USC, UCLA, Cal Berkeley. They're at Weber State in Utah. They're at the University of Arkansas, King Fahd Center, set up by the terrorist king of Saudi Arabia, King Fahd. And by the way, as the counterterrorism commander of Los Angeles said, well, we're reaching out to these folks like we would anybody else. That would be like reaching out to Charles Manson and his followers to try to tell the Tate family, Sharon Tate and LaBianca family, that, yeah, don't demonize Charlie Manson. I just found this news came out is very disturbing to me. The Afghan Taliban appoint a new military commander, a guy named Ibrahim Sadr. He is the same thing as ISIS. In fact, he will probably be the leader of ISIS in Afghanistan when we pull out. Ibrahim Sadr, S-A-D-A-R. But he was released. The Pakistanis had him in prison. And the Pakistanis were talked to by the Afghani government, in particular President Karzai, who was appointed by George W. Bush and still serves today under Obama. So I can't blame either of them. I can't blame them just like I can Dick Cheney and Liz Cheney for refusing to understand that ISIS and the Muslim Brotherhood are based on what did Muhammad do. And so Karzai, who, by the way, his brother was given $50 million in United States currency cash, fled Afghanistan and is now in Saudi Arabia with $50 million of cash in Saudi Arabia. I believe he went there early so that when everything falls apart in Afghanistan, Karzai will make his way over to Saudi Arabia and he'll have $50 million over there. So the new leader of the Taliban, which exists to destroy us and supports and is virtually a branch of ISIS, has their commander given to him by the president, our alleged ally of Afghanistan. This stuff, I can't make this stuff up. It gets crazier and crazier. And clip number 3.
CJ, you were talking about, I think there was an earlier conversation, you said the Nation of Islam, that you reached out to the Nation of Islam, a very radical, extreme group, and that's kind of, you know, and do you feel that that you should be reaching out to the Nation of Islam, or do you think that, how about the Muslim Brotherhood? Should we reach out to the Muslim Brotherhood, or?
Well, one thing I look at.
Well, I'm asking.
I'll answer that. The first thing when I look at the Nation of Islam, do I agree with everything that Farrakhan says? No, I do not. And in the black community,
and stuff like that.
I understand that. However, if you go into the inner city and under the Reagan administration, those people from the Nation of Islam was the Reagan administration who gave them contracts to do security at our public housing institutions. Right. So, and looking and understanding that, they embraced the Fatherhood Initiative that Speaker Gingrich unveiled when he became Speaker in 1994, and they run businesses. So when I sat in the room to talk about, okay, here are Republican candidates that were running statewide in Ohio, I said, look, I'm going to tell you just like, we don't agree with everything, but Ken Blackwell believes in entrepreneurship. Okay. Justice Abe Stratton believes in second chances. I looked at the things that we could find commonality in our community.
Right. You know, can I add to that?
And we push those messages out there.
We have to go behind enemy lines. And we got to communicate the message. A lot of those people are not getting the right communications.
So you
they're not getting the right, absolutely.
Like the Muslim Brotherhood and stuff like that.
I go to La Raza and speak, I go to LULAC, La Leo, La Caca, La Habana.
Hold on. What I have a problem with is they say, you know, jihad is their way, you know, martyrdom is their goal. I mean, that is antithetic to everything the Constitution says.
I understand all of those things.
You got your answers.
No, I understand all of those.
Do you agree with that too, Mr. Khan?
With what?
That we should be outreaching to the Muslim Brotherhood and
well, the Nation of Islam.
Muslim Brotherhood in the United States.
There's no Muslim Brotherhood in the United States.
No.
The Nation of Islam.
Okay, so that guy is supported by the Republican Party, the Conservative Political Action Committee. Grover Norquist gets millions and millions and millions of dollars from the Saudi Arabians, and that guy, Suhail Khan, is a member of the Muslim Brotherhood. They're on every major college campus in the United States, and he just lied. There's no Muslim Brotherhood here in the United States. Then, in the clip before, you heard Michael Downing say that the Muslim Student Association is Muslim Brotherhood, and they are in the United States. A lot of people like the Tea Party, they say, well, you know what, we only want to be interested in finances. We don't want to be interested in moral issues. Or scientists say, well, you know what, I have science. I really don't need this religious stuff. I don't care about moral things. Let me end the show on this way. If I have a hammer, I can use the hammer to crush a skull or to build a house. That's a moral issue. If I have a clock, I can make sure airplanes leave on time and arrive on time, or I can use a clock for a time bomb. If I have a cell phone, I can call up people and I can talk to them and solve problems and say, hey, Mom, I love you, or hey, Dad, happy Father's Day. Or with that same cell phone, I can trigger a suicide bomber 10,000 miles away. That's a moral issue. On the stock market, if I am so consumed and obsessed with making money on the stock market, that's okay. Is that a moral issue? Well, if you use the money to fund widows and orphans or to fund suicide bombers, that is a moral issue. If I have medicine and I can use the medicine to cure a baby who's born malformed or something, or I can use that medicine to abort and murder that baby. It all does come back to moral issues. Technology. Technology without morality is merely a menace to society. Till next week, God bless you all.
في كتير طرق وسط الحياة تاهوا فيها ناس، وطرق تبان مفروشة ورد وتنتهي بألم وضيق، لكن الطريق للفرحة وطريق الخلاص عند المسيح. أصل المسيح هو الحياة، هو الطريق.